So today we're gonna make some kombucha. If you don't know what kombucha is, it's the stuff they sell at the store that's in these bottles. I've been making kombucha for about a year. I stopped making it in the winter because it needs warmer air than what my apartment has in the winter, so I kind of just let it go on hold, and I put all my SCOBY in this little SCOBY hotel. Today I'm going to show you how to make kombucha if you happen to have all the things at home. Today's the first day of the mandated lockdown of Illinois. Try to control the spread of the coronavirus, so I'm stuck inside indefinitely. Not that I'm not inside all the time anyway already, but I thought it would be fun to start my first batch of kombucha today, and I'm calling it Quarantine Kombucha. So this will take about 2 weeks to brew, so I figured it could be a good way to kind of mark off the days. Like and subscribe. I'd love to have you here. Let's make some quarantine kombucha, shall we? Okay, first you have to brew some tea. You can use green or black, but it has to be tea. You can't use herbal tea. So I'm using 5 green tea leaves. I'm just gonna brew it. So if you don't know what kombucha is, it's basically just fermented tea that you make with tea and sugar water. And you let it sit for a week to 10 days, depending on how warm your environment is. You need a SCOBY. I realize that everyone's on lockdown, so it's gonna be harder to find like maybe a friend or a neighbor that has SCOBY, but I haven't tried it myself, but I heard you can make your own using store-bought kombucha. You'll have to Google it because I took a class last year and they gave me a SCOBY starter, so I didn't have to grow my own from scratch. But basically SCOBY is symbiotic cultures of yeast and bacteria, and they basically, what they do is they eat sugar in the sugar tea, and that process forms fermentation. And so once it sits out at room temperature for 2 weeks or so, it's a fermented drink, and it's got lots of good probiotics, and it's really good for you, and it's really fun to make and play scientist. So like I said, it's the first batch of the year. I'm calling it my quarantine kombucha. It's kind of gonna be my yardstick during all of this, since I'm starting on day 1 of the lockdown. So a little kombucha and I are gonna go through this together. Anyway, so this is SCOBY. This is a year's worth. So every layer that you see, my hands are clean, P.S. Every layer that you see, oh my gosh. Damn, look at it. It's pretty gross. The texture is it's almost like cartilage. But, so you can store it in kombucha and it can sit for months because the pH level is, I think, acidic, and so it won't get moldy if you store it properly. So this has just been chilling in my pantry for 5 months, and it's totally fine. So I don't need all of this. I only need I'll maybe put a little bit. You don't need this whole jar. I'll explain more soon, but now this has been brewing for a couple minutes. So I explained a little before, but when you make kombucha, you have to use actual tea, from the tea leaf family, because something in the chemical makeup of the tea leaves helps the kombucha ferment. So if you used herbal tea, it wouldn't work because it doesn't have the tea leaf tannins, I want to say, something like that. So you have to use white, black, or green tea. And you can mix up the combos too. So I'm gonna put a cup of sugar, and it needs to be white sugar, or if you're level 5 vegan like me, raw cane sugar. So let it brew for a bit, but then I take the tea leaves out just so the leaves don't soak up any sugar. I don't even know if that's a thing, but. So then you put in a cup of sugar. And you have to do it when the tea's still hot so that it dissolves correctly. Okay, it's nice and dissolved. Now I have to let this cool off. It takes like a half hour about. And then we'll be back and we'll finish. Okay, next step. I took out some SCOBY, set it aside, poured a cup of the kombucha that was in here into this measuring cup. This is the tea we brewed. This is the jar that we're gonna mix everything in. So you need a pretty big jar for this. I thrifted both of these, which is obviously not an option right now for everyone because everything is closed. So anything that you have that's, you know, I think this is a 3-liter jar. And I think it needs to be glass. I don't think you can do it in plastic. So this was in the fridge, so I think if I put the tea in, it should be fine and kind of even out. Let's see. And I bought these little like temperature gauges on Amazon. The ideal temperature that this needs to ferment at is 72 or above. I mean, it works if it's a lower temperature, but it's just gonna take longer. I've brewed up to like 3 weeks before. Okay, yeah, that's cooled off. So then you put in the cup of the already made kombucha because that's what kind of starts the whole process. Stir it around. Get it all in there. It smells very vinegary. And then, seriously, SCOBY is so gross, but it's cool. And then you just put it in. It will stay floating at the top, and then as this ferments, a new layer of SCOBY will form. And I'll be doing update videos to show how it's coming along. So I'm gonna cover this. I have just some fabric, like a cut up t-shirt works well because you want something that kind of breathes a little bit. If you have like a cheesecloth, that works too. And then, wow, this is really hard to do with one hand. That's what she said. And then you secure it with this rubber band. And I'm probably gonna put it in this guy just because it's next to the radiator and it's still cold out. So maybe if it's in an enclosed space, it'll be a little bit warmer and it'll like ferment faster. So that's it. I'll check back in a week and see how it looks. One last thing, so this needs more kombucha to keep the SCOBY the correct like pH. So because this is my first batch of the year, I took my kombucha from my SCOBY hotel, it's called. But usually you'll take a cup from, like once this batch is done, I'll reserve a cup of kombucha from this batch. This won't need to be touched. But because it's the first batch, I'm gonna need to replenish this with some more sugar tea solution so that, because this is there's so much SCOBY in here, it'll make like kombucha super fast because it's just like all SCOBY. I don't know if that made any sense.